Right then, we are back with an update from Clive. It's been a couple of weeks. His cameraman's been away, but yeah, we're back at it. So, how's things going?
Right, what I thought I'd do today, show you how I plant my garlic. I'll just put a row in, just to show you what I do mine. It was only one way to do it, didn't it? But last year, I bought a couple of nice bulbs from a firm, and this year I'm using the bulbs that I grew. Some of them are not very big, but I'm not bothering buying any more. We'll stick these in. So I'll put a row in here just to show you. So these is my garlic from last year, what I grew. Yeah, you see, that's a nice bulb. These are smaller ones, but we'll go with it. Yeah, you see what I mean about the size of the bulbs. So, some are big and some are small. Yeah. So all I do now, look, come along. Now look, I made a little measuring stick there. That's 6 inches. Now, judging the plant I got about 4-6 inches. I've got a little 4-inch one in there. It's only a little cane, a little plank cane. Look, I've cut. So I've got one 4-inch, 6-inch, 8-inch, and so on. But yeah, here we go then. Look. Oh, we do get down into the soil here. About 3-4 inches deep, look. Plant your bulb, it's obvious which way they go. That's your root, that's your little, is it where it grows, that's your root. So we'll put him in there, look. Cover him over. Job done. And then all we'll do, just another one in there, look. I'll just do this row to show you, and then I'll finish the rest off later. But I was a bit early putting them in last year, but I'm going to be a bit later this year for the simple reason we had a mild spell, and they come up within about 4 weeks, and before we had any frost, there was about 6 inch tall, and I thought there was a bit too forward. So I'm in no rush to plant these. I've got right till the end of the year to do these. So as I say, I'll finish these up later, look. That's all we do, look. Another big one somewhere. Here we go. Stick him in there, look. Cover him up. I've set 3, I'm going to do a 4th. Just to show you. There we go, look. Another big one here, let's have it. Biggish. There we go. Stick him in there. Cover him over. Job done. And I'll leave that there. And then there to finish off. So basically that's that. And I believe your garlic, I forget how long they want, but they need so many days frost on them before they split. So you've got to have a right cold spell for garlic. So as I say, I'm not in no rush till the end of the month because it's still pretty mild. And I don't want them too high before we get them frost. So that's that. Right, and what else I do this time of year, as you can see, I've been preparing my beds and putting my compost on. And these are some parsnips left in from last year. I've got no parsnips ready yet. The ones that are gonna be ready is in my other bed. But what set these back, you know, them hot days we had, so they frazzled the leaves on them. Look, and it literally burnt the leaves. And there was only about that high at the time. And it really set them back. They've had to grow all new leaves. So they'll come on. They're starting. Right, and another thing I do when I've composted my beds. I get some chicken pellets. And all I do, I just scatter them on like that. All over the bed. I'll get my foot wherever I put it. Now you can leave, if it's nice and wet and damp, you can leave that on to wash in and let the worms take it in. But it's a bit dry, we've had a few dry days. So all I do, I just rub it into the top, a few inches, look like that. Get it into a bit of damp soil and just put it under the surface. Then when it rains, they all swell up, the worms come and take them down, and it puts a goodness into your soil. And I don't know whether you can notice these, look at these. Mushrooms, I don't know what sort they are, basically they're just fungi. And that's what happens in your no-dig. That's your goodness in the soil. That is, all your fungi and everything working on that compost, look. And that's how this all works. So that's what I do. When I put my compost on, I just scatter some chicken pellets over the top, just rub it into the top, and that's there left. And I'll do the same in spring, because all that will be gone come spring. The worms will have took it down and that. So before I start planting, a good fortnight, 3 weeks before I start planting, I'll give it another good scattering and then rub them in. And then that's it, we're ready to put his plants out on top. Okay?
Cool. Just wanted to show us through the cabbage.
Yeah, let's check, because we've not been here, have we?
I say, I've come back and seen this, and
hey, look at this then. Savoy cabbage. Yeah, they're coming on all right, aren't they?
Lovely.
You see, they've raced on. They're a winter cabbage, and I sowed them at the right time. But say it's been that good this year that they've raced on. But yeah. But the only thing is, they're not on these. I'll show you the round here. So we're pleased with them, aren't we? But I told you, I think it was last video, about the aphids and white fly we was getting. And just look at this. Look, just look, can you see it? It's absolutely full of them. And I keep washing them off and washing them off. But they're still coming, look. But it's not, the brussels are there, look. I don't think this plant will do much good, actually. But luckily enough, we've managed, as I say, to keep a lot of it off the rest of these. We've got a bit of, I don't know whether that's off them. Yeah, it will be, because there's one or two here, look, under the leaves. But on the old look, we've kept them off, and them brussels are starting to swell. We'll see how they do. I say the first year with brussels and that. Well, I mean, they have spread to one or two of the plants, but I've heard of people on YouTube, I've heard one or two complaining about them. One chap is cabbage decimated by whitefly and these grey aphids. So I think quite a few of them I've had problems with them, but that one's terrible for it. That's my rogue. No, this is my rogue. He's got to be purple sprouting broccoli, hasn't it? Unless, of course, I'd got one spear and I stuck it in at the end. I can't remember doing that, actually. So, Brussels, purple sprouting broccoli, and these are some more carrots we put in, Autumn King for the autumn. I'm using this row now. We've had all the, obviously, the Amsterdam force in, and we've got these Autumn Kings now. See if we can get one out. That's not perfect, but I'll still use that. I'll chop that up. I'll still use that. There's another way up. We've got two up there. But they were sown a lot later. But they're fine. They're fine. So they've got, and these are my parsnips. Look, the first lot that went in. So I think there's something under there. Look, they're not very big, to be fair. Look, I don't know whether you can see that. Looking at that, they're only about that size round. So it don't look as though I'm going to get much off them. But again, I'm not bothered if they're just like carrot size. They'll be fine. I'll be using them. The leeks are there already, as I say. I've not used any of them yet. I'm starting to make my stews now, so they'll go in then. Some more parsnip here, and look at the spring cabbage. They're racing ahead, aren't they? They're for next spring, and look how they've come on. So, yeah, so that's that.
Cool.
Okay.
Up to date. We'll catch up next week then. Then we're back again.
We'll catch you next week, yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.